All right, guys, this is Coach Simpson. This is my YouTube channel. As you can see, I'm not in my basement. I get to actually be in the house doing this one, so I'm kind of excited about it. But this week, I'm going to be going through a few things, kind of a head coaching 101 type deal that a lot of people had reached out to me through Twitter or through my Facebook groups or through just emails and had asked that I addressed on this channel on different things that, that they wanted to have answered. And so one of the questions I got a bunch from was how to build a staff. So you're a new head coach, or maybe you're about to be a new head coach, or maybe you're an old head coach and you're just trying to figure out ways, maybe in a new job, of building a staff. And I'm actually going through a lot of this currently right now because I've inherited a lot of guys and had to do this really, really quickly. So understand, one, I'm no expert on this. And two, you can see up here, the first point I've got on this PowerPoint is there's never an exact formula because I don't know your situation. So first thing I want to address is before you take a job, you need to at least understand what you're going to get. Now, that doesn't always mean you get exactly what you thought you were going to get, but most of the time, if you'll be direct during the interview process or during the process of taking that job, you'll know what they had, what is available, and what you're going to have right then. I would always assume that whatever you have, that's the most you're going to get, and so if you get extra, that's awesome, but don't come into a school thinking that it's, a year from now, we might, does not mean it's probably going to happen. So understand wherever you go into a school that you kind of have to evaluate what's going on there and think about it from a non-coaching perspective. They've got to fill teaching jobs. They've got to be careful on budget. They have a lot of things they need. And although a lot of schools do prioritize athletics, it should, in my opinion, never be prioritized above academics. That's got to be the number one thing they've got to do. And that doesn't mean you neglect athletics. I'm not suggesting that at all, but I am saying that you need to kind of have a realistic expectation of where the administrators' minds are. So when you get to a school, the goal on your building a staff is to try to maximize what you have. Try to maximize if you're going to be able to bring anybody in, you need to evaluate what's on staff, have an idea moving forward of what you want. In a future episode, I'm going to talk about how I would kind of prioritize positional coaches, but that's the hardest thing I think a lot of coaches don't understand is there's a lot of other parts about coaching that have to get done. There's a lot of things that get done that have nothing to do with on the field. And so you need to figure out talents, is my point number two here, of those that are on the staff, not just on the field. Who are your organizers? Who are your motivators? Who are your guys that are great film watchers, X and O guys? So probably if you can build a staff, you want to get a mixture of all of these. If you don't have that ability, then you need, as the head coach, to fill in the gaps and to figure out, point number three, what you can delegate to other guys. Now, delegate does not mean I give it to you and I ignore it. I think a lot of coaches get into a lot of trouble because I delegated this to so-and-so, and then he doesn't do it up to your expectations. You're the one that's still on the line for that because you're the head coach. And so it's your job to teach your expectations to that coach. That being said, anytime you can delegate to somebody who you can trust to do it close to as good a job as you can do, that's a good thing. I was very blessed, the school I came into, to have guys that are very talented in multiple areas. So the first thing I did was went through and try to evaluate who had strengths where, teach them, hey, these are the expectations. This is my non-negotiables. So here's an example, I gave our special teams over to two young coaches. And I know this doesn't go with the off the field, but it gives you the idea. Here's what my non-negotiables. I want to make sure that we are aggressive in kickoff team, but we're not dumb. We're not going to kick it to their best athlete. We're going to do these things. And then I gave it to that young man, and he did a great job with it this year. And I've done the same thing with other areas, whether that be fundraising, the weight room. It could be breaking down film with your staff. Okay, it could be technology. I'm horrible with technology. And so which coach can handle that and is good at that? And so I delegated a lot of that to guys. I had some guys who were great with X's and O's, close to as good as me. And my rule is always kind of an 80-20. If they can do the job about 80% as good as you can, then you need to go ahead and turn that over to them, because now you can turn your time to something else. So I know it kind of rushed through this, but when you're building a staff, and I'm going to get into tomorrow's episode on actual X and O and positional, but as a head coach, don't neglect the other stuff, because that's usually most of the time even more important than X's and O's as far as your time management goes. Because if you don't delegate this to guys you can trust, you're now in charge of technology. You're now in charge of fundraising. You're now in charge of facilities. You're now in charge of all the X's and O's. You're now in charge of all of these things that will eat your, where you can't even be around the kids. So being able to delegate that out to guys you trust and teach them kind of what you expect frees you to have more time to do other things that need to be done in the program. I would, again, caution you, if you're going to delegate it, recognize you're still responsible for it. So you need to make sure you're constantly communicating with the guy who you put in charge of that. But again, I'll hit some more X and O stuff tomorrow. Until that time, guys, thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already, you can subscribe to my channel just by clicking down below. If you want more information, you can email me, fbcoachsimpson@gmail.com. And I've got this actual PowerPoint all the way done and all the information on my website, fbcoachsimpson.com. Thank you.